Hello, farmers, and welcome to another episode of the harvest season. My name is Cody.
And my name is Jonnie.
And we're here today to talk about cottagecore games.
Woo!
Woo! As always, transcripts are available in the show notes and on the website. And today's topic is Fae Farm. Woo!
Woo!
So I am an added human on this, so I was not initially on Fae Farm, so I did not play the game, but I am here to ask Jonnie all of the very important questions about Fae Farm, and make sure that we get all the coverage. You're gonna get grilled. Did you prepare for the test? Did you study for the test?
I prepared for this test as I prepared for all of my other school tests.
What was your scores on both tests?
I scored pretty well. My prep was never great.
Well, that's great. So yeah, you're gonna do great. Okay, so we're gonna talk about Fae Farm, and before that, we have some news to go over. Concerned Ape just trying to dominate the news cycle as always. But before that, Jonnie, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? There's this game that I really like, and it's called Cassette Beasts. And this week they came out with their DLC. I should have looked up the name of the DLC. It's like Pair of the Unknown or something to that effect. And it's excellent. It's if you like Cassette Beasts, which everybody should like Cassette Beasts, this is more Cassette Beasts. Like, it doesn't... Okay. It adds stuff in the way you want DLC to add stuff, where it's like, that's cool extra world building, but it doesn't change anything about the main story or, like, really impact any of that. So, I have just been playing Cassette Beasts, and Cassette Beasts is awesome, and it's better than whatever things that you like, because it's the best.
What are you playing on?
I'm playing it on Xbox.
Okay. With the Game Pass, or...?
I think I did play it initially on Game Pass, and then I enjoyed it so much, I just wanted to own it and, like, directly support the developers of Cassette Beasts by buying it. And then, like, I don't think the DLC is available through Game Pass. I think you have to buy that separately. And the game's only, like, the game is really cheap. I get the feeling it's, like, $25 in New Zealand, which would put it, like, probably below 20 in American money.
Yeah, so I'm seeing it on Steam. It's $20, but less. It's currently 25% off on Steam.
Yeah, so I think it's the same thing on Xbox. I think there's a sale on there. So, yeah, it's just like, if you like Pokemon and, you know, you want to play a game that's actually fun, play Cassette Beasts and don't play Pokemon.
Oh, the developer is currently playing right now on something. I don't know what this is. Yeah.
That was really dangerous to tell me while we're in the middle of recording an episode.
I'm sorry, we'll try and get through this really quickly. But yeah, I have not played Cassette Beasts. I'm sorry.
You should play Cassette Beasts.
I know, I should.
But I keep saying that to everybody, so... Anyway, I feel like that's all I've really been doing. Oh, the only other thing is, like, Marvel Snap, which we very occasionally talk about on the show, is still really good and really fun. And I'm still sticking with that. And I feel like it's way longer than I expected to stick with a mobile card game, but it's just very good, very fun. Big enjoy.
Big enjoy. Okay, yeah, I don't play that either. Cassette Beasts looks really cute, though. If I had to play a game on, like, a console, that would be what I would probably be playing.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
I have been up to insect stuff. Woo! So, I went and harassed legislators at the state capitol last week and was like, hey, we need people to support insects and insect conservation, and no one's in charge of that right now, and that's an issue. And I got 3 of them to say, yes, that is an issue. Let's write legislation to make it someone's problem. So that's cool. Excited about that. Just gotta, like, contact them now with some draft legislation, which is cool. I also had this thing called the Great Insect Fair, which is my university's, like, big extension outreach things about insects. So everyone that does insect science at my university has like a little table, and they talk about their research. We had over 3,000 people show up, which was great. My club made $1,800, which is also great because we use that to support students.
That's pretty amazing. That's a lot of people to bug you guys.
We bugged them, actually. 'Cause we had people hold, like, we had cockroaches and tarantulas and scorpions and things that people could hold. I brought my bearded dragon, and someone else also brought rats, and so you could feed them little mealworms, which is really fun. For games, I'm still playing Pokemon Go, and I'm going to Hawaii in a week, and I just found out that there's a specific Pokemon that's only available in Hawaii. So I'm pretty stoked about that. So I'm going to get a bunch of Comfey and bring them back for people.
Nice. I'm still shocked at how big Pokemon Go is.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like Pokemon Go. Like, I didn't play after the first week. It's not for me.
They've definitely fixed a lot and like made it a lot more enjoyable and easier for like new people to start, which is really nice. And yeah, I still play it every day. I play that every day. I play Pikmin Bloom every day. Something I don't play every day, but I wish I remembered it every day, is my Tetris game. I now have 382,000 points.
So you are inching ever closer to, is it the million you need for this cruise?
Either 1 million or 2 million, but yes. Depends.
Wait. What do you mean either 1 million or 2 million?
Some cruises are 1 million, some cruises are 2 million. It depends on which one you want.
I am still very much in the category of this is a scam, Cody. I feel like if you get on this cruise, you're going to be, like, kidnapped, and then we're going to turn this into a real crime podcast, where we're, like, trying to track you down.
Well, currently, all of the cruises that they have are sold out, so there's 2 million and 5 million. And let's see, they had 5 cruises available. One was a 7-day Alaska cruise. Actually, there were 2 7-day Alaska cruises. There was a 5-day Mexican Riviera cruise. And then a 5-day cruise. This doesn't say where. Western Caribbean cruise. Goes to various ports. Starts in Florida. Oh, and then comes back to Florida. Interesting.
I feel like the point of being on a cruise in Florida would be to not come back to Florida.
Right. I don't want to come back. I just like I think that one of the cruises went, like, some of the Alaskan cruises start you in Vancouver, British Columbia, and it ends in Alaska. So then you have to find a way back. So that's like interesting to me why the other one you come back. But yeah, these are cruises that are booked for the April 2024 sailing. There's a couple of them. There's another one that's April 22nd. There's April 29th. So they have a couple different embarkings of these cruises, but they're all currently sold out. But it doesn't matter because I don't have the money anyway, or the points anyway. They're either 2 million or 5 million, depending on which cruise. But I did once see one for 1 million. So, the other game that I'm still playing daily is Usagi Shima, which is the one that I played, the Adorable Bunny Collection game that I played with Al. I am only missing one bunny, and I am about to Google it because I don't know how to get this one bunny. Also, some of the bunnies are like, we like, our favorite toy is currently a question mark. And I'm like, that's interesting. I have everything. I've purchased everything. Like, anytime I look at the store, there's nothing that I don't have. So, like, how is your favorite toy not there? I don't know if she's gonna, the developer is gonna like release more. I don't know, but very grumpy about that.
Maybe you just haven't done the secret bunny handshake password to unlock the secret item.
I must not have. I do still have some bunnies that I need to like become their best friend. So like think of like Stardew Valley where you have hearts for everyone. There are some bunnies that I still need to do hearts for. Yeah, and that's what we've been up to. Woo!
Woo!
Okay, so we've got some news. First up is Wildmender, and it is out now on Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation. So this is the game where it's a desert gardening survival game, where you find like a spring in the garden or in the desert, and you're using that spring and bringing things back to that spring to like rejuvenate the world. And it says also you're cleansing the corruption that turned the world into the near dead wasteland before you. They literally say, or just make a pretty garden. That works too. Interesting. So yeah, this is currently $25 on Steam. I just realized I didn't. Oh, Windows only, no Mac. And they also said that if you share your garden screenshot in their Discord, you enter a competition to win a plushie. They have 2 plushies.
And this frog plushie looks so derpy, it's kind of great.
It is really. It kind of is giving me from Futurama, that frog from.
Yes, it absolutely is.
It's not a frog, it's a toad. Hypnotoad. It's giving me Hypnotoad vibes.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Wildmender? Are you a Wildmender? Is this up your alley?
No, it doesn't look like the sort of game for me because it's I'm not a big survival game person.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like something a little bit more directed, I think. But I like the idea of what this is trying to do. Like, so I feel like if I was feeling like playing a survival game, I would be keen to try this one. Because of the sort of more gardening style aspect, rejuvenating the land. Like, I think that's really compelling to me and something that I've kind of wanted. And I think in one of the first episodes that I was on, Al and I kind of talked about like the idea of, you know, being able to change the landscape in a farming game, which this is obviously sort of getting into, but probably more in that survival game sort of way rather than I'm kind of more hoping for it on a smaller scale, right, where it's maybe a little bit more directed and bigger impacts than I think you would see in this sort of game. But it looks cool. I think if you like a survival game and like a farming game, this looks like a really fun little crossover to try.
Yeah, they do say that they allows you to customize your experience from adjusting the difficulty all the way down to toggling sandstorms on and off. There's a lot of options to ensure that you can make the world work for you. So maybe like you can get rid of a lot of the survival aspects and kind of be in like creativity mode a la Minecraft. So cool.
Yeah, seems cool.
Next up is Spells and Secrets. This now has a release date. This is the... Gosh, what did he say? Harry Potter without the turf.
Yep.
So this
that
is
was...
Harry...
I watched the trailer and I was like, wow, this looks like Harry Potter, but there's no problematic people... Well, there's no problematic people that we know of involved.
Yeah. If you really like the world of Harry Potter and you want to go to a magical school and defend your magical school, but you also believe that trans women are women, because they are, this is the game for you. So yeah, it's the release date is November 9th. It's coming out on Switch, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Steam and PC. And the new trailer that they have, did you watch the trailer, Johnny?
I did.
There's curling.
Oh, I might have missed the curling in there.
At one point, they're not doing it in, they're doing it like on grass. It's like a turf, but it's 100% curling.
Sorry.
It's at about 38 seconds in.
I was not expecting both uses of the word turf to come up in this conversation, but here we are.
Oh my gosh, you're not wrong. Yep. So they show you playing wizard chess. Well, it's probably just chess, but they show you playing chess, and then right after the chess part, they show curling. But it's magical curling. It's really interesting.
I think the thing that really I can't remember the name of the game, but it was kind of like Magicka or something, and it was just kind of a game where you ran around as wizards and you kind of combined spells, and like they had lots of weird elemental effects. This game kind of gives me similar vibes to that, where it's kind of like that 45-degree overhead sort of like action adventure sort of vibe, and just really playing off like, hey, people just really like Harry Potter, and this is kind of just like, trying to do that and make it fun. And again, I think it's doing a thing that I kind of really like at the moment, which is games kind of being clear about what they are and being simpler. Like so many, particularly AAA games at the moment, are just so big and bloated and overcomplicated. And they're trying to be all things to all people, and this looks like a game that's like, hey, we're a spells action adventure game, like, you make your own character, that looks cool, you're at a school, like, there's a lot of familiarity around it, around just making what looks like a fun action adventure game, so this looks fun.
Yeah, it looks really cute. It reminds me, like, the top-down style, like you said, like the 45-degree angle, kind of reminds me of, like, the Gauntlet series. I don't know if you ever played Gauntlet, but I loved that series. And the fact that, like, when you open a door, it, like, reveals the room behind it, but until then, it's just kind of, like, empty space. I don't know. It's giving. It's giving Gauntlet. It's just, like, seems like it'd be really fun. And the fact that you can play with two people simultaneously, so you and a friend can be exploring this world together, is really cool.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, Spells and Secrets releasing on the 9th of November on all of the platforms at the same time. And they will have a physical release for a couple of them, but it's, I think, at a different time. Spirit of the Island is getting a console release. So this game is already out now on Steam for $18. And at the time of recording, it's 55% off, so it's only $8. But I don't know if this is going to be there. It says it's got like a, I think, 44-hour countdown. So I don't know if it's still there or not. But I did see on their Twitter that they had another sale recently. They were part of an indie sale. So I think that they're on a lot of sales. So definitely keep your eye out for that if you want the Steam version. But the physical versions, so they have PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and the Nintendo Switch. All getting physical releases, and the retail version is only PlayStation 5 and Switch, but they're all coming out on, what's the date?
19th of October.
Thank you. The 19th of October.
Which I'm excited. This is kind of be one of those games that's in the category of, like, I would quite like to try when it comes to consoles, and now it's coming to consoles. It's coming at a really busy time, so I feel like it might be one of those ones that unfortunately goes on the back burner until things sort of, get a bit of space. But really excited for this one. It looks pretty good.
Yeah. I feel like I was scrolling through and there was more I wanted to say about just the fact that they have a Paradise Edition, I guess. So on the physical releases for the PS5 and the Switch, they have this thing called a Paradise Edition where you get like stickers and a cute little tourist guide. But there are no prices available. Oh, $25. Just kidding. $25 is what they will be. I don't know if how much more the Paradise Edition is, but all of the console games will be $25 no matter where you are, euros or dollars. It's probably more for you, isn't it, Johnny?
I'm guessing it will be more for us.
Yeah.
It will be probably more like $35 where I am.
Dang.
But our dollars are worth less than your dollars, so.
Yeah. Unfortunate. Okay, and then Concerned Ape just trying to dominate the... Oh, and I think Al said this, just trying to own the news cycle, right? He's just trying to make sure that every time we have podcasts, we have something to talk about and we bring him up again. So, for Haunted Chocolatier, he posted... Concerned Ape posted 4 new screenshots as a thank you for the fact that he now has 1 million followers on Twitter, which is bananas. What do you think of these screenshots, Johnny?
Yep, these look like screenshots from a game that Concerned Ape made. Like, I don't want to downplay it, but I am a little bit like, until there's real news, like, screenshots are just screenshots, right? Like, yep, that's, I don't know. I didn't probably look particularly deep at them, because I was just like, yes, these look like, one's a forest, one's, I can't even remember them. I'm reopening it, but yeah, like there's the the library, which I think we've seen before, a house, a fountain, and yes, these are like these could be locations in Stardew Valley, except for the fact that we know that they're not locations in Stardew Valley.
We know that they're in a different game.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be down on it. It's just more I don't really want to be. Like, I want to get excited for Haunted Chocolatier when it is close to coming out, not when it's just a thing that we don't know anything about.
Yeah. I'm usually the same, but I do love the conspiracy theory, like, people on Twitter who are nitpicking every little thing that they see in these screenshots. I do love that when people get really hyped like that. So, for example, in the house, it looks like it's a shop because there's a shop portion of his house, and then there's like a little kitchen, and then the bedroom. No bathroom. I just realized I don't think he's ever made. Are there bathrooms in any Concerned Ape things? Just people just not have to go to the bathroom?
I don't recall there being any bathrooms.
People in Concerned Ape's world do not have bodily functions confirmed.
So now you've opened this door. It's not getting closed that quickly. I was reading a book. Like, I really got into like lit RPG style books. So, fantasy style RPG books, but it's kind of often heavily inspired by video games. Mm-hmm. And one of the books I was reading recently, I can't even remember which one, but it addressed it by basically being in this world. They didn't want to address bathroom stuff, which you never address it in books anyway, but they explicitly reference the fact that magic just makes the poo disappear. So you never have to go to the bathroom. So that's what happens in Stardew Valley. It's just magic makes the poo disappear.
There's just, you take a magic pill or something, and then
no, just the magic.
It sits at the bottom of your gastrointestinal system, and anytime anything gets within a certain distance of it, it's like... magicked away. Where does it go? Can you make it go somewhere? Can you make it go to your enemy's house?
Well, that's the fun thing, right? Because it's never explained where it goes, but presumably it does go somewhere. So maybe there is somewhere that is just, the entire collection of
Poo Island.
Humanity's poo.
Maybe. Interesting. Well, in this screenshot of the shop, there's like a little creature in the back that kind of looks like a thylacine to me, but it's like obviously you probably know all about thylacines because you're down there.
What's a thylacine? What's that in human words?
Is?
I only know human words.
So a thylacine is it was a marsupial that looked kind of like a dog. That existed in Australia, but the last one was killed in like the 1920s. So we have like
Codey, I'm in New Zealand. We do not have the marsupials. That sounds like some Australian nonsense.
But you're down there.
Yeah, in New Zealand we have birds. We love birds. That's our thing. We like dinosaurs. We're way cooler.
But someone on the Twitter saw this like thylacine looking little adorable thing, and they said, this is, I'm going to credit them. Who is it? Mads. Startup with Mads. Said, is that one of the animals you put the skeleton together for on Ginger Island?
Oh, interesting.
So
I don't think so.
I've not ever done Ginger Island, so I don't know. But there's this little creature, so that's a deep cut that someone had. The second screenshot of them in the forest, he's using a bow and arrow. Bows and arrows confirmed, Jonnie.
I mean, sure, but, like, isn't that just kind of like the slingshot?
No, it's got a bow and arrow. It's very clearly a bow and arrow.
I mean, yes, but functionally.
No, it's different. It's different. And then you're at, like, a fountain, and it's really... The mermaid fountain, it's really pretty. And then, yeah, I guess there's not much to say about the library, other than the fact that there's...
So, the thing that gets me excited, and it's from the forest screenshot, is the inventory view. So it has, like, what I presume is a tool slot, where it looks like there's a stick or something in there, and then there's, like, a bow that's selected, and there's a present and something else. So it looks like a different version of the inventory system to Stardew Valley, which for me is really exciting, because that's the thing I don't like about
And you
Stardew
also
Valley.
have a health bar.
Yes. Yes, with hit points and...
With hit points in it, yeah. And then, is that a bowling ball or a coconut?
I'm not sure what that is, because it's definitely not a bowling ball, because there's too many holes.
They might bowl differently, yeah? You never know.
I also don't think it's a coconut. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it looks... The two options feel like bowling ball and coconut, and I feel like it's neither of those. Maybe it's a chocolate. That would make sense. I'm going to say it's a chocolate.
Okay. It's a chocolate bowling ball. Okay. So yeah, those are the screenshots. And our ramblings about them and the Twitter comments about them. Confirmation of archery, which we got a hint at with Stardew 1.6 last week when we talked about it. By we, I mean Kev and Al. But Concerned Ape was not done. He wanted us to talk about him twice. So, when was this? Yesterday, he posted hats on cats and dogs. So these are... It's just cats and dogs from Stardew? Question mark? Haunted Chocolatier? Question mark? No idea, but they have hats on.
I feel like these are from Stardew. The only one I'm not sure about is the bottom left image. I'm not quite sure where that one is.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Anyway, hats look cute on cats and dogs.
They do, and there's a big old bow on one of the dogs. So we got, like, a cowboy hat. We've got, like, I don't know what to call the hat on the top right. What would you call that hat? It's got a feather in it.
I am not a hat expert, so I don't know what to call any of these hats. Like, okay. It's it kind of reminds me of, like, the Zorro style.
Ooh,
Zorro?
Yeah. Zorro style hat. I'm sure that gaucho hat is what people have called it online. Or Zorro hat. Zorro hat or gaucho hat. Al probably loves that we're diving this deep into these little pictures. Probably not going to edit this out at all. The bottom left hat looks like if a grandma was like, I need to go to the market today. This is the type of hat that she'd put on, you know?
Yeah. And this looks like one of the first hats that the kittens sell you. So the kittens that sell you the hats? Mouse? Is it mice who sells you the hats?
I think it's mice.
God. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the bow is like a gigantic, obnoxiously large bow. I would think like this bow is like Lady and the Tramp style bow, like one of the big bows that Lady had. That's like way too big for her little tiny body.
Yeah.
So yeah, hats on cats and dogs, and
none of this is actually news because it's just pictures.
Just pictures and speculation. Woo! Since we love pictures and speculation, but possibly whatchamacallit, video and speculation. Oh my gosh. Lego Animal Crossing? Question mark.
Yeah. So the video just shows like minifigs, and it had like, you know, your classic characters from Animal Crossing. So you've got like Isabelle and Tom Nook and a few others, which is cool. But I think the real speculation is, are there going to be real Animal Crossing Lego sets coming? And I feel like that seems very likely, given how much Lego loves doing IP crossover stuff now. I would be very surprised if it wasn't, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought it made sense, because you could do everything from, Nook's store to the museum. You could go back to some of the old games and do like the coffee shop. You could do like the player house, all sorts of things. Like, it just feels like a really, really natural collaboration, and a collaboration that is going to make many of us exceptionally poor.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's my thing is like, is this hinting at figurines and like sets that you can purchase, or is this hinting at like a video game?
No, I did not get video game vibes at all.
I mean, but like, could they? I mean, is that... It does say minifigure. When the balloon goes up over... Again, this is an 11-second video, y'all. We're really... Okay, it says Lego, the Lego logo, and the minifigure. The minifigure. I don't know what that means. Are trademarks of the Lego group. I don't know what the minifigure means.
Presumably, it's the trademark that they use for, like... Because I think they've done some blind box sort of stuff with the minifigs, like the Lego people. That would be my working assumption.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you could have Tom Nook from every generation in this too, because he looks like he's wearing his New Horizons outfit. But you could get him wearing his Wild World outfit. I feel like they're gonna make a lot of money off of this. This is from Nintendo of America, by the way. I don't think we said who tweeted this. And yeah, people are just talking about how they're ready to lose money and ready to be broke in the comments.
Yeah. Like, I've been on the border of becoming a Lego person for a long time, and the thing that's kind of held me at bay is I'm not big into most of the IPs that they've done collabs with.
Yeah.
And this will break me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I don't have money, so that's what stopped me. And when I do have money, it goes to my dogs. So, yeah. That's the news. Woo.
Woo.
So, Johnny, we're here to talk about Fae Farm. So,
yeah.
Tell me about Fae Farm. What is it? What are your thoughts?
So, at its core, Fae Farm is another iteration take on the Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon, Story of Seasons, whichever one you want to sort of pick as the base, but it's another iteration of that formula. So it's farming. It's probably more in the like crafting end of the spectrum, so it's a lot more crafting driven than it is farming driven. Farming is more of a thing that you do in the game, rather than sort of being the central point. But it's, I think the starting is you have sailed to the island where the stuff is happening. Anyway, you're a new resident, and they're like, hey, there's an old abandoned farm. Would you like it? You say yes. You start clearing up the farm and, doing the quests and all of those sorts of things. So at its base, like the core gameplay loop, it is one of these games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking at the launch trailer, it looks very Animal Crossing-esque, but with farming and magic.
It's so it looks that way.
Okay.
And maybe we'll get into the... So I have a very conflicted take on this game, right? So if I was going to summarize my overall thoughts, is that this game plays really well, but overall, I do not enjoy this game because it's missing some really, really core elements, and it's helped me understand the things that I like in these sorts of games, but it is missing some really core elements, which is primarily around things like the story and the characters. which was very surprising to me because in a game like Fae Farm, and I guess probably we should probably just very quickly talk about why it's called Fae Farm, is that there are fairies in the world. There is magic, which we'll talk about in a little bit. There is a fairy realm, which I have only really just got access to, and it's quite sparse, but it kind of just seems like another area, but there's, fairies in it. So my expectation was that the story and interacting with the characters was going to be kind of a big part of the game. And weirdly, it's like, yes, there are quests, and the quests drive a lot of what you do, but the characters are so non-factors in this game, it is shocking. Like, on day one, you kind of learn that none of these people have anything interesting to say. Like, there is no interesting dialogue. They are not particularly distinctive. Like, some of them have distinctive looks. You're like, oh, maybe this is the cool one. There's very few of the characters that are romanceable, and the romanceable ones feel like they're entirely separate from the characters that you interact with for most of the quest stuff. It's just really odd how bland and boring the characters in this game are, and how quickly they're just like not a thing that you really care about at all.
Which is not normally when you're playing these types of games, people that play these types of games are really into the story of the people around you and why they're there.
Yes.
So not having that is a big black hole, I guess.
Yeah, and I think for me, like, the one of the really easiest comparisons that I'll draw is, they have all of their characters that represent the various things. So they have, like, the fishing guy. I couldn't tell you the fishing guy's name, just that he's the guy that you talk to for the fishing stuff. And you compare it to a character like Willy in Stardew Valley, right? And Willy is just, like, really great character in that he's the fishing guy, but he's, a very passionate fisherman in a place where fishing maybe hasn't been valued as much, and he's trying to look at to get restarted, and it comes through in like his notice board quests, like the way they're framed, and just the way his character speaks and his lines of dialogue, where like there's a real character there that's interesting and compelling beyond just being the fishing tutor. And that's not the case in Fae Farm at all.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like on their website it says that they like it's one of their big things is to grow lasting bonds. They say our elaborate cast of neighbors will help you find your purpose. Lean on them in times of need as you become a good citizen of Azoria. They might fall in love with you too. And it has like learn from the locals, meet colorful characters. I don't know why that was difficult. Find your soulmate, bring friends home. So like this is like it's just so this is like maybe something that they're hoping to develop, or do you feel like it is what it is?
I kind of feel like it is what it is. Like it's
okay.
Sometimes you look at something and go, oh, there's the basics of it there, but they could build on it. I don't even feel like the basics are really there. Like they all just have really generic. Like on day one, you have multiple characters kind of saying the same lines of dialogue to you. It's not deep. The pool of romanceable characters is not particularly deep or interesting, and it's an extreme version of the classic. Like the few characters that you do like think, oh, this one might be interesting, they're just all not available for reasons that I don't really understand. I did try to play with the system a little bit, where it's kind of like you just do fetch quests for and there's friendship for the non-romanceable characters.
Right.
But you just do friend quests or fetch quests to kind of build that up. And then I did a date, effectively the cutscene once you get to a certain number of hearts with one of the characters. And it was very much one of those like, wow, we could just put in any of the characters. Like, it was nothing specific to the character that I had picked. It was just like, we went on a picnic. And, hey, I like you. You like me. Great. This was fun. Let's do it. Like, there was nothing special or unique to the character. I got no sense that I, made a choice that was interesting or had any consequence or was different to any of other choices. It was like, which face looks the best? Which is, It's a video game.
great.
I'm not, that's not why I'm here.
I mean, that was me with Stardew. I was a bad noodle. And the first time I played Stardew, I was like, ooh, an emo boy. I want the emo boy. But then when you marry him, spoiler alert, he's trash. And I was like, oh, it's not all about looks.
But that's where you start, and it changes from there, right? Because you learn more about what the actual character is. This is just like, no, which pixel combination do you think looks the best? Go with that one, I guess.
There's not,
So so that side of the game is very disappointing, and kind of just because it's sort of in the same realm. So there is the sort of story quest, and the quest system generally is fine. You know, it's kind of pushing you to do the next thing in a similar way to most of these games do, where it's like craft this thing or get to the bottom of the mine or do whatever this thing is, and it kind of keeps you pushing along, and that side of it's quite compelling. But the biggest problem is so magic is part of the game, and there's a range of spells. I think I unlocked 2 or 3, and the spells sort of help you clear stuff from the world so you can access more areas, or and they have that use, and they have a use on the combat side of things as well. But when you unlock it, it's kind of meant to be this big story moment. So you do a large fetch quest, and you bring the person that's going to teach you the spell a bunch of stuff. You're like, oh, this is going to be really exciting, and they say, come and talk to me the next day, and we'll do the thing that we're going to do that will also result you in learning the spell. And so you get really excited, and then you go to bed, and then like a one-screen thing pops up that says, you and the character went off and did the thing. And then you just wake up in front of your house, and now you know the spell. You're like, and the first spell I learned, it took me a few days before I even recognized that I actually had the spell, because I thought the game had glitched and the event hadn't happened. I didn't realize that one screen thing was like the entirety of the thing. So it's really disappointing that you're sort of building up to this big moment, and then the big moment is like a page in a book, which is not a video game thing. Like, I didn't get to...
You didn't get to, like, see you guys going off or anything. Like, there's no cutscene. It's just... You did it.
No cutscene. Your character's not present there. You don't do anything. And even because you wake up on your farm, you don't notice any change. Like, there's no immediate visual change that anything actually has happened, which is just very disappointing.
So the spells, is it like something that you can just do at any time, or is it something that you have like a store of magic and you can only do them when your store is full?
So it's a mana system, and the mana effectively just works like stamina. So you can cast a certain number of spells a day effectively, just in the same way that you can cut a certain number of trees or mine a certain number of rocks.
Right.
So it kind of works. It works fine, and like the spells have interesting uses in combat, and that they're not just damage. So like I think the second spell you get is a wind spell, which in the world it kind of clears some really heavy fog, but you can use it to knock enemies back when you're in the mines or something like that, which is a cool use of that spell. So it's kind of that dual purpose, works quite well.
Okay, so is it only spells? Like, do you actually have like an axe and like a tool kit that allows you to collect things from your environment, or is it all pretty much through spells?
No, I'm actually surprised. Like, so the spells kind of feel more like an add-on rather than the main part. So you still have all of the usual tools. And this is what's really odd about this game, because this is the area where this game does things really, really right. So the way the tools work is for all of your base tools, so like your axe, your pickaxe, your watering can, those sorts of things, they auto select the tool based on the context that you're at. So if your cursor is over the tree, then it will just automatically select the axe. You don't need to change to the axe. Same for the watering can, or like if you're over your crops, or if you're in the mines, it's just automatically the pickaxe, or if you're on a diggable spot, it will be the spade. So you're not constantly switching stuff, which is so nice, because you can kind of just run around and clean up your farm really, really quickly. And there's only a very small number of times where I was like, oh, I thought I was pointing at this one thing, and turns out I was pointing at something else, so it used a tool that I wasn't intending. But those instances were so infrequent. The convenience factor of that was really, really nice. Mm-hmm. The only tools that sort of aren't on that wheel are your more, like, specialist tools. So your wand is one, your fishing rod is another, and then there's a bug catching net, and that's the... so you have to rotate between those ones, which is generally fine, because you're often like, okay, I'm not doing work, so I'm going to move off the work tools, and I'm going to go catch bugs, so I'll select the bug catching tool.
Mm-hmm. How are the bugs in this game?
The bugs are great. So the bug catching and fishing are kind of in the category of like really nice things to do where you're sort of running around the world. The fishing's a little bit the fishing is a little bit Animal Crossing style, with the you need to cast in front of the fish, and there's a bit of a reeling in mini game, which is fine. It's not as difficult as the Stardew Valley one, so that's okay. Mm-hmm. The bugs you can sneak up on, and you have a chance to catch. So the difficult ones you might need to have a few goes at catching. But they're really cool. There's bees in the game, and they utilize the bees in a really cool way. Like you occasionally come across a queen bee, which you need to craft like your hives and things like that. And then there's also worker bees, which you need to craft some like other smaller sort of bee things. So I really love the way they use bees, and it's just kind of a nice little collectible thing that as you're running around the world, you're like, oh yeah, I'm kind of just going to catch some bugs or whatever. So it's a nice little thing to do.
Do they look like regular bugs, or do they look magical?
In general, they kind of just look like regular bugs.
Okay. I'm looking it up. Okay, so you've talked about not the crafting. You've talked about like the farming. Well, I guess you talked about just the tools themselves, but like how does farming work in the game?
Farming is kind of just like farming in other games. You hoe the land, you plant the seed, you water the seed. And you can use fertilizers to make it grow faster. You've got the crops that are just, they'll grow in 3 or 4 days and you harvest them once. And you've got the crops that will continue to be harvested over time. So there's nothing particularly special or interesting happening from that respect, but it kind of works well. One really nice addition, and we'll talk more about sort of the world traversal in a bit, but you can go in the water, and when you're in the water, or if it's raining, your watering can just automatically fills up, which is just a really nice little quality of life thing, because if you have forgotten to like fill it up at the well after you've watered your stuff for the day, then it's highly likely that you'll just naturally fill it up over the course of the day with everything else that you're doing, so that's really nice. There's animal farming as well. That kind of adds the little nuance of, you need to interact with things every day, but they kind of like you based on have they been fed, have you pet them, and have they got sunlight, which I really like the sort of have they got sunlight dimension. Yeah. I think that's pretty good. So that seems really cool. Only other thing I guess is just in terms of the types of crops, is that there's flowers, which is cool, and you can do some flower crossbreeding, which seems kind of like a cool system and quite deep. So that seems like something that I kind of want to dig into more, which I've only really just started playing the surface of, because I don't know that there's seeds for every sort of flower. Maybe a little bit more like Animal Crossing, where there's like the base colors for certain flowers, and then you can
put them next to each other.
Yeah, so there's that sort of thing. I get the sense that it's sort of building towards there being more magical style of crops. I just haven't got any yet, but I'm guessing they are in there. So that's pretty cool. And the best thing, so this is the best thing about farming, and this is the thing that this game does really, really well, because it's all of the quality of life things, is you can move your planted crops. So if you're like, I've put this in the wrong spot, or I want to adjust this to build something, you can move it, which is amazing. Yeah. It's so good.
Well, and that's something you could do in real life, too. You just get down to the roots and move your thing. It's not impossible.
It's not impossible. And it's just so convenient because particularly with flower breeding, when you're like, oh, I planted the wrong flower in this spot, I didn't want to crossbreed those two. And you can just literally pick it up and swap it out for the one that you want. It's really, really convenient. Such a nice little feature.
So what do you do when you get the crops? What do you do with them? Like, is it just kind of you sell them, or is there some type of like crafting or cooking or...
Yeah, so there's so this is probably a good segue into the crafting system, because the crafting system is relatively deep in that so once you harvest them, you can sell them if you want, and that's generally the worst thing that you can do. What you want to do with your crops is cook them. So you can at the start you just get a basic like campfire and you can cook them on that. But as you sort of progress, you unlock more sorts of crafting stations, and so you could take something that you've grown, and you could chop it up on one station, and turn it into maybe a cut version of the vegetables or mixed vegetables or something like that, and then you could cook it on a more elaborate cooking station that can make better quality food. And the better quality food, not only does it sell for more, but it does the energy restore or health restore or those sorts of things that you need for the mine. And the crafting is kind of like, it's one of those systems where you jump onto the table and you say craft 12 of this thing, and it will craft them over time, and you don't have to stand there while it's crafted, but there's a time element to the way things are crafted. But the game really rewards you for crafting with things, so it's not the sort of game where you want to sell stuff, particularly your base versions. And so again, this game, like, quality of life features. Every other farming game copy Fae Farm's quality of life features. At the start of the game, on your farm, there is a shed. That shed has infinite storage. You can hoard everything in this game. It is amazing.
That's all I've ever wanted.
Right? It's so good. It's so good. Like, I really want to... if you're playing this game, or you want to play this game, hoard everything. Like, sell stuff. Like, there is certain stuff to sell. Like, sell your things that you've crafted. Sell things that, you like... You've kind of feel like you've done everything with, and if you're like, I feel like I should be able to do something with this, hoard it, because you can. It doesn't punish you. It's amazing.
Well, that's the problem with some farming games is you start the game and right off the bat you're like, oh wow, this cool rock, that's cool, but I found it on my first day, so it's probably going to be here all the time, and I'm running out of inventory space, so I'm just going to sell it. And then you find out that was the rarest rock ever, and you only get one every month or something like that, and it's just like, well, I sold it. So
Yep.
Because I didn't know what to do with it on day one. So that's really cool that they have like stuff that you like, a way for you to just save everything right off the bat, because like, yeah, and you don't have to, it's just there, right? You don't have to build it.
Correct. Yep. So you don't have to build it; it's there from the start, which is great. And your character's inventory is also relatively generous. So things do tend to like have more sort of like stacks in your inventory, where you can only carry a certain amount in a slot, and you have to unlock some slots. But your tools don't take up inventory slots.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And relatively quickly you can unlock to get your inventory to like 25 or 30 slots, which is like really like it's very good once you get it that far. So that was just honestly, it made it so fun, because if you feel like you're just running around the world doing what you want to do and you're not doing an inventory management thing that's just annoying and frustrating. Oh, and just sort of the final thing, because it's really important to call out because it's really good, is the crafting pulls from your storage.
So you don't have to move it to your personal inventory.
Correct. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so so far story / characters not amazing, but other than that, copy this.
Amazing. Yep.
Wow. So are there like other buildings that you can build on your farm, or?
So I don't think so.
Okay, so everything is just there.
Yeah, everything is just there. there's like, because the chicken coop, or the sort of version of the chicken coop is there's kind of like a second farm, or kind of like further up the hill, where you kind of get like a second house, and that's where I think the cow animal facility is. There's like a few things that you do build that are kind of building-esque, but you don't really go into them. So there's like a one of the things that you can do with the critters or bugs is there's like a menagerie that you can build, which I was really excited for, because I was like, like it'll be like a mini museum thing for the cool bugs that I catch. Turns out it's more of like a way to turn some of your critters into crafting ingredients for potions, generally. So you kind of put them in there, and then they, like, I think they hang out for a time, and then I think they leave, but they leave behind their sort of crafting thing. So that was not quite what I was hoping it to be. But I feel like it's, so most of the buildings are there, and then you're just really building crafting stations off the back of that. But there is a carpenter, and I didn't progress, because, like, I feel like a lot of the house upgrade stuff was, I just didn't engage much with it, so maybe you do unlock the ability to build some buildings later on, but it didn't stand out to me like that was going to be a huge component if it is. Maybe it would be like a shed or something like that.
Okay. So you talked about the world traversal and the map. So we know that there is this area, this farm, obviously, but like, how big is the map, and how do you move around the map?
So the map's a decent size, I think, because it's not sort of that pixel style that's become really common, which is very easy to sort of compare the size to. But I would say in terms of size, it feels about the same size as like Stardew Valley to kind of like run around and sort of get around. But there's the fairy area as well, and I get the sense that there's probably a third area that I haven't unlocked. So it's when you add those areas on, it's probably quite a bit bigger than Stardew Valley. But moving around this world is incredible. It's so good. So you can move in any direction. You have a jump button, so you can jump over things. There are little bouncy mushrooms that have been put into the world that you can use to bounce up. So your initial farm is kind of like at the top of the hill, and you can just jump over the fence and kind of like jump down the hill. And at the bottom of the hill, there's like a little bouncy thing that you can just run on and bounce on to kind of like shoot yourself up onto the farm. You unlock relatively early into the game, you unlock some wings, so you can glide, and there's quite a bit of verticality to the world, so you can kind of like glide around and get around stuff, and like even some of the things that they put in the game to block off areas, the movement in this game is so good that you can kind of get around them relatively easily. Like, I think I mentioned before, you can go in the water, so you can swim, so like there is just a lot of ways to get around this world, and it's really, really fun to move around, because you just move really quickly and really fluidly, and it doesn't feel like a blocker. And I wonder if this makes sense, but in Stardew Valley, when you're, maybe in Cindersap Forest, or over by the Wizard's Tower or something like that, and then you think, I really need to like go to Clint's, right? Or, maybe you want to upgrade your pickaxe or something like that. You think about how much time you are wasting running from there to the other side, right? It's just like, that is the immediate thought whenever you need to run across the map, is like, oh my god, this is going to take like an hour of the in-game timer to do. You do not get that feeling in Fae Farm. You're just like, I need to go here, great, and you start running, and you kind of get there, and it just feels really, really good. I love moving around in Fae Farm.
Well, that's good, because like that's definitely one of the things that I don't like about Stardew, is it takes you so long to just get across the map. And even if you take the bus or whatever, it still takes a lot of time out of your day.
Yes. Yeah.
I guess the other thing that you've mentioned a couple times, and I'm just like curious about, you've mentioned the Fae and the fairies, and like how there's a fairy realm and stuff like that. Are they like your size, or are they... I'm thinking of like Navi from Zelda, like a little tiny fairy that's like, you not really even, this is like a little light. Are they like your size?
They're like humans with wings.
Okay.
Yep.
So then you get wings. Are you a fairy?
I don't know. I feel like maybe that's part of the story, potentially. I get the sense
Okay.
that maybe you're like the one special human that's, also chill with the fairies. So, yeah, I don't know. The fairy thing feels very weird, like coming back to the kind of problem with characters is that the fairies are kind of just like there, and but no one really acknowledges it or like talks about it or like, and it's kind of central to the whole plot of the game, but it just feels like nobody else in the story, unless their character is directly involved in like the quest that you're doing, they kind of just don't seem to care about what's happening. It's very odd. It's very, very odd.
But I mean, like, is it like an area? Because there's a fairy realm, but like, so you're a human in the fairy world, or the fairy world is a completely different place?
So
Unclear.
The main world is very clearly kind of like the human world,
Okay.
and then you cross over into the fairy world because I believe they do make a like, hey, you're the first human to be here in a long time sort of thing. I vaguely remember that being a plot point.
Okay. So you've also mentioned like combat system. So where are the combatable people? Like, are there enemies that you can fight like in everywhere in the world, or are they in like a specific place, kind of like the mining shafts, or are they in the fairy
Just in the mines.
Okay.
So the mines kind of work. So it's the sort of traditional farming game structure of there's mines and there's a certain number of levels to the mine and you want to get to the bottom. It does a few things that, again, I think are just really good iterations. So what happens is you kind of mine stuff, and then on the floor you will find a button, and you press the button, and that opens the door. And each floor every day always has the same layout. I think the rocks that spawn will be different day to day, and where the button is will be different day to day, but the levels aren't super big or confusing. There's just like, cool, I found the button, I can open the door. And then on each level, what you can do is you can build, there's a craftable item called a seal, and that seal effectively lets you teleport to that level, but you have to have all of the previous levels have to have a seal, so you can't just like drop down to level 10 and just put in the seal for that level. You would have to have levels 1 to 10 with their seals in place, and that just automatically opens the door on that level, or it lets you you can teleport directly to that level, so you can progress every day. It's kind of just like their version of the elevator shaft or whatever, so that you don't need to do all 25 levels in a day. It's a good version of that system. I think what I like about it is it lets the mines sort of be shorter. Like the 120 levels that's in the Stardew Valley mine.
Yeah.
Like 80 of those levels are kind of just like boring and uninteresting, and you're just trying to get past it really, really quickly to get to the to the next level. And the other cool thing is once you get the ability to teleport between levels, it tells you what the chance of certain resources spawning on that level is, so you can pick the best level for whatever thing you want to farm. Which is really, really nice, because like once you've kind of done it and you've got a sense, right, it's like, well, I could look up on a wiki which levels are best for farming that thing, and this game's just like, we'll just tell you, just go to this level if you want to farm this resource, which is awesome.
That is really cool. Did the levels like seem to change, kind of like in Stardew, how like every 5 levels it's a different like landscape and like different bad guys? Because I'm looking at their website and it says battle fabled foes, and one of them looks like there's like gargoyles, and then another one looks like there's musical instruments.
So I think there's 3 from what I understand, there's 3 different mines, and I think the 3 mines have different themes. So the first one is very like nautical themed, so a lot of the enemies are like an animated cannon or a ship's wheel or a treasure chest, those sorts of things. And I haven't quite got to the second one yet, but I get the sense that like they'll all have quite different themes between the mines rather than level to level.
That's really cool, because I'm assuming then the difficulty just gets harder as you go down, but like then you kind of know what you're getting. Some of the 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 animation looks really cool too. Like it looks really
Very
fluid.
good.
Is it from these screenshots like it's fluid? Is it also that way when you're playing the game?
Yes, very fluid. The combat's actually really good for a game like this. Often the combat can kind of be a bit, it's just different variations of characters, kind of walking at you, and it depends on the speed. A lot of the enemies in this have a signature attack. So like the cannon will shoot a cannonball at you. And they've got a really good sort of like visual representation of what's happening or what the attack is, or like the ship's wheel, it kind of like goes up in the air and it'll do like a ground pound that has like a small area of effect, and it gives you plenty of warning to sort of move out of the way. So the combat feels more dynamic than you typically get in one of these games, in a way that's like good, but it's also not overly difficult to do. And then kind of combined with the magic where you can sort of disrupt their attacks or push them out of the way or those sorts of things. Like it's kind of like just enough without turning the game into, like a combat action adventure style game. So I think it works really well.
So what is the incentive to like battle these things? Like, is there an experience system, or is it just to get through so that you can get materials? Do they drop materials?
They do drop stuff, although in general I found it was more like I didn't have a huge incentive to fight them. It was more like you want to fight them to kind of clear them out from, so you can harvest the resources that you want on that level.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you kind of just try and run past them. So there wasn't a huge incentive to feel like you have to fight them. If you kind of just like, I don't really like combat and I kind of want to just avoid them or fight as few as possible. It feels like that's entirely possible, because can't recall them dropping anything unique. They might have unique drops, that are quite rare, like Stardew Valley does, that you kind of just will naturally get anyway over the course of harvesting other resources. You'll kind of kill enough that you'll probably get that sort of stuff. But I don't recall encountering any drops like that, because it's probably the one thing that I feel is maybe missing a little bit from the game. Like they have a collection log, so you can kind of like in your journal or whatever, you can kind of track what you've collected, but there's no physical representation of that. Like there's no museum or place where you donate things, which I think is something that I really like. I didn't talk about at the start, but I've been playing a little bit of Mineko's Night Market. If you want to hear my thoughts on Mineko's Night Market, just listen to last week's episode with Al and Kev talking about it, because I think I share exactly the same thoughts as they do. But there's, museum aspect to that game, which I just enjoy collecting things and, donating them and seeing them sort of laid out, rather than just going into a book and then the book being like, hey, you found the thing. Like, I like to have to, donate it. Like that slight cost to it actually is something that I quite enjoy.
But then it's there for all to see, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
I guess, like, the only other thing as I'm scrolling through their website and looking that we haven't really, like, covered is they talk about quests. So it says complete epic quests. And I know you talked about a fetch quest earlier, but, like, what is there, like, a main quest line for the story? Or, like, what are the epic quests?
Yeah, so this is kind of back to, I think, what I said before, where it's like the quests could be epic, but the way they're delivered isn't. So I might just give a mild spoiler warning and talk a little bit about the first one. So probably if you don't want spoilers, maybe skip ahead 2 or 3 minutes. The one of the first sort of major quests when you get to the bottom of the mine is about kind of clearing out some of the whirlpools that are preventing people from coming to the island. And so you get to the bottom of the mine and you find I can't really remember what it's like, kind of like a dragon or spirity thing. And he's like, I'll teach you the spell that'll help you clear the whirlpools. And you're like, awesome. And he's like, bring me, like 6 crafted ingredients or 6 crafted things. And you're like, okay, so, kind of go off and collect all of the stuff and you craft the stuff and you bring it to him. And then it does the, hey, tomorrow you and the spirit will go and clear the whirlpools. And so you go to sleep and then you get a page that basically says, you and the spirit went and cleared the whirlpools, and that's your epic quest. So No, I would not say that the quests feel epic. They are just fetch quests. Like, they do a good job of pushing you to do new stuff and to interact with the systems in the game, which is good because the systems are really good, and it does a good job in that regard. They are not epic quests, though.
Okay. So it is just that.
Yep.
Okay.
It's, not my favorite aspect of this game.
Okay, I mean, that's everything I think that was on their website. And that's everything that I've said. But, like, is there anything else that you think, or any, like, final thoughts that you have about the game that you want to... Who would you recommend this game to, I guess, is another question.
Yeah, so I think who I would recommend this game to is if you like farming games for the sort of farming aspect and you like crafting, and you kind of just wished there was a game that had really good systems for doing that, this is the game to play, because it does all of these things, I think, better than any other game that I've played. Like, it's the quality of life features in this game are exceptional. They are so good. If you like the interacting with the world and the characters and a really compelling story or a narrative arc to these games, then this is not the game for you. It's kind of like a really clear line between between those two things. That's sort of the group of people that I would recommend to this game too. And I feel like it's a game that I kind of want to stick with and go back to, because I think I do kind of like those aspects, and I want to see more of it and how deep it goes. But I kind of bounced off a little bit, particularly with Mineko's Night Market coming out, which I think is the opposite, right? Where that's a game that's really driven by the narrative and the story, and the rest of the game is maybe not as strong. So that's sort of the difference. And I've just remembered one thing that I should have brought up, because I really, really like it, and it's sort of loosely linked to the quest system, is there's a bunch of job quest lines. So there's various jobs, whether it's potion making or cooking, woodworking, all sorts of things, and you can only have one of these quests at a time. But as if you start with the one that I was sort of playing around with was the cooking one, and the first one will be cook something using a really basic ingredient, and you kind of do that, and the reward for that quest will be and part of the ingredient that you will need for the next job quest, which will sort of like, over time, it introduces you to the more complex elements of crafting that specific line of things, which is a really good way of helping you understand all of the things that is possible to do with the crafting system in sort of like a nice way that fits into the world. Because the sort of, the chef character is like, hey, can you, I want to teach you to become a chef. The first thing to do is to craft this thing. And I thought that was awesome, and I'm surprised that has not been a thing in more games, where it's kind of like, with Stardew, where you've got the random board requests, where occasionally they'll request, crafted items or things like that. It's like, actually, this is a much better implementation of, I think, what that was trying to, that sort of system was trying to achieve, to kind of get you to play with all of the systems, where this one you can really sort of pick and choose the ones that you want to dive into. And it's funny because, like, I don't know that I necessarily would have picked cooking, but that was the first character that I came across that had one of these, and I didn't realize that you couldn't have more than one, because I was just like, I'll just build up, my log of quests, and then I'll pick the one to do. But then once it was like, well, I've done the first one, I was like, well, I'm just going to do the second one and the third one. And so I think I did like half of the cooking ones, which was kind of cool, because I didn't realize how deep and useful the cooking system was. So I thought that was a really cool way of introducing some of those things in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is really cool. And something that... Another thing to add to the list of other games should copy this.
Yes. This is a game I would love to see copied, just with much better story.
So yeah, I mean, I guess like that's what is the number one thing that this game could improve to like make it a recommend for everyone? Would you just say the story, like having deeper characters?
Yeah, so I would say of those two, I would say it's the characters. The world doesn't feel lived in, right? So with a lot of the farming games, like, the characters have distinct personalities, you understand what they're doing, you understand their role in the town, you kind of get a bit of their hopes or ambitions or fears or, whatever it is, right? They feel like real characters. Mm-hmm. These feel like, cardboard cutout NPCs that were put in a world for you to play a game around. You know, like it doesn't feel like a world that had anything interesting going on before your character showed up. You know, and I just like when I finish with this game and I think back on the moments that will stand out to me, it's going to be like the moment when I realized that there was an unlimited storage system, because that was awesome. It's going to be the feeling that I have moving around the world. It's not going to be like with Stardew, everybody thinks about the getting the meta shorts back, right? Like that's just one of those things. It's like that was happening regardless of whether or not your character was there, right? Which that's what's missing from this game.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think that pretty well covers Fae Farm. Maybe something. So I will say, like, this is a game that I was not planning on touching at all, because I don't know why the like magical games or like the witchy games are just not really on my not my thing, not my bag. But maybe I'll do a second harvest of this. You talking about it has made me really interested and really intrigued. I do like being able to move around worlds really well. There's nothing worse than like when a game has a like glitchy, I guess is the way to say it. Like you just can't go forward for absolutely no reason. There's nothing there, but it's just like you can't go this way, but you can. Being able to like jump over things sounds really nice.
Yeah, and not to keep dunking on Pokemon because it's kind of like my hobby, but like moving around in Scarlet and Violet is the most miserable experience. Like that game is not fun to move around because the frame rate is bad, like the gliding is bad, just everything about interacting with that world is not fun. Everything about interacting with the world in Fae Farm is very fun. Okay.
Well, Scarlet and Violet was actually what I was thinking when I said I don't like games that glitch out. Like,
sorry, Al. I know you like that game, but it's way too fun to dunk on because it's so bad.
It's so bad. Like I remember the first time I was playing that game, and the people in the background, they're so far away, and they were like moving at like 2 frames a second, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
not good. So yeah, that is Fae Farm. Thank you, Jonnie, for covering it. Where can people find you on the internet?
If you want to find me on the internet, as always, go to patreon.com/thspod, sign up for the Patreon, give Al a little bit of money to support this awesome endeavor. We've been doing weekly episodes this year, which has been a big effort, but it's been a lot of fun, and hopefully we've produced a lot of great stuff, and we would love more people to join the Slack and talk about all of the farming games, particularly like there's so many that have come out recently that we won't be able to cover them all in as much detail as we've done for the likes of Fae Farm and Mini Coast Night Market. But if you're playing one that you think we should be covering, like we want to hear about it. So either through the Patreon or you can go to harvestseason.club and send some feedback directly through there as well.
Yeah, you've covered all of the podcast's socials. You can, if you did not like this episode, you can contact Al at the ScottPod on Twitter or mastodon.scott. You can find me on, I guess I'm still on Twitter, at Cody Mathis. It's just my name. Or on Instagram. I mostly on Instagram post about my dog, though I am getting into posting funny reels about music and other things like that, like insect science. Getting into the reels, man. I like laughing and making people laugh. And that is at Hiking Beagle, Beagle. Thank you, Kevin, for mentioning that I should change that to B. Twitter, also THS Pod. Is it Twitter or is it Tumblr?
It's now Tumblr.
Yeah, it's now Tumblr. This isn't changed. This needs to be updated. I'll update the outro on Notion. Calling you out. And that is everything for us. Thank you, Jonnie, for joining me.
Thank you for stepping in to help me cover Fae Farm. It was a really fun conversation.
Yeah, it was. And until next time,
have a good harvest.
The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin, Stuart, and Elisa. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode.
Oh wow, you talk so fast.
I know. It's honestly, like, I need to slow down with my talking, and it's something that I keep trying to work on, and it's like, once I get started, I just, like, can't stop.
I was like, have a good harvest. And you were like, have a good harvest.
Just trying to make it as difficult as possible for Al to line it all up, because, you know, he's sick,
yeah.
and that's what we need to do. We need to put more work onto him.
That's not going to line up at all.
Sorry, Al.